Hello everyone, this is Aaditya Mehta and you are listening to podcast on personality development. And I welcome you to episode number 1 of the Boost Your Productivity season. And with me in this entire season is the leadership and career coach Elena Pastore. Today in this episode, we are going to talk about a thief which steals our time, and that is procrastination. So, intro music is going to play now. In that time, do hit that follow button if you haven't already, and don't procrastinate in that. And get a book and a pen. Till that time, I'll get the guest of this season. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Personality Development Podcast. We are on the season of Boost Your Productivity, and today is the first episode of this season where we are going to talk about procrastination. And with us is Elena Pastore. Hello, Elena, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Amazing. Very happy to see you again on this episode. And I'm pretty sure, as always, you have a lot of wisdom which you would like to share. Well,
Yeah, I'm excited to share some of it.
wonderful. I am really, really happy. So let's, talk about procrastination first. Yeah. What are your thoughts on procrastination? Like, what are some of the major reasons, where procrastination does come, and do you feel that it can be completely wiped out from our life?
Yeah, that's a great question. Can it be completely wiped out? And to be honest, I'm not sure what the answer to that would be. I would probably say no, because when I think about procrastination, it can come up in any area of life. So when you think about problems or challenges that you're facing, one really good thing to ask yourself is, does this just show up in one area of my life, multiple areas of my life, all areas of my life? And for some people, it may just be work, or it may just be personal things like taxes or bills or chores, right? Um, but procrastination can come up in any area of life. So the first, real thing to think about procrastination is that it is, and my definition of it in essence is the lack of desire to do something that you know you need to do. At least typically we procrastinate things that we have to do, that we know need to get done, not just things that are optional. So that's how I would define it. And at a high level, thinking about, how can I start to fix this problem, or how can I start to make progress towards procrastinating less? One good thing to think about is, well, where's an area of my life that I don't procrastinate? And how can I channel motivation, or how can I think about what gets me motivated to not procrastinate in that area of life, and see if you can get some wisdom from that different context and bring it into the context where you are experiencing procrastination.
Wow, that's wonderfully explained. Take the motivation from the thing which you are doing it really well, and you are motivated to do that. So I think that's a really great start of this particular episode, I feel. But just a follow-up question over here. Like, I have seen many people in my life, that they are really passionate about something, but after a while, okay, they would procrastinate in that as well. So that motivation or that passion lasts for like 2 or 3 months, and after that they just want to procrastinate in that. So what do you think would be the main reason where they were initially passionate about that thing, but later on they started procrastinating in it.
Yeah. So the first question that comes to mind for me is not why are they procrastinating? It's why are they lacking the motivation to do it? Or
One.
they once had the motivation. So the procrastination is the byproduct or the effect of the lack of energy or the lack of motivation to want to do it. So there's a root that's causing the procrastination. And for some people, this could be a pretty complex thing. For some people, it really could just be that they, may have some beliefs or some views that things have to constantly be exciting, and maybe they like to be, not that they like to be in overwhelm or that they like to be, in a heightened state or an anxious state, but sometimes for people, they need a certain level of stress, or they need a certain level of, this is different, this is exciting, this is spontaneous, to get the motivation. And when things start to get comfortable, it can start to fall off. So I mean, if you think about why someone may be passionate about something for a period of time and then stop being passionate about it, that could widely range depending on the person. So yeah, I in essence, I would say, rather than focusing on why is there procrastination when there was not procrastination, think about why is that emotion there, or the feeling there of not wanting to do it versus wanting to do it.
Well, that's wonderfully said. Asking the question to yourself of why this kind of emotion is coming out. But most of the times, people don't know how to ask why to them. Most of the times it's like people just keep thinking about this why, and they understand that there is a reason behind it. Let's say they find out the reason as well. For example, there is this one person, okay, who is a very good friend of mine, and he's also a community member, by the way. His name is Parth. So he literally asked this question as well, that 3 months back I was really passionate about reading. I did read the entire book, and then I started the part 2 of that book, but now I don't feel like reading it. The book is interesting, but I don't feel like reading it. And when I said, like, why do you feel that? I mean, what's the main reason about it? And he said that, I don't know, I'm not getting enough time, and then I feel very sleepy nowadays when I read about it, and so on. So what do you think, they can develop that again? They can develop that passion again, so that there wouldn't be procrastination anymore about in that thing especially.
Yeah. So I do think that there is a big difference between procrastinating, let's say something at work
Hmm.
that has to get done. It's required. You can't not do it. Versus reading a book for pleasure. You don't have to do that. You're choosing to do that. There's no deadline, there's no requirement. So I do think procrastination is different in those settings. And so what I would say for this is asking what or how questions. So asking why questions, even in a friendly setting like this, can cause people to feel defensive and feel like they have to protect their answer or response, as opposed to being introspective and reflective about it. So if you say, why have you been procrastinating? Right? They might come up with excuses or be defensive. So I would ask this person, what need or what desire did it fulfill for you to pick up the first book? So, I don't know how long it takes him to read, or the kind of the time, but maybe at that point in his life, there was a lot less going on. Maybe he was wanting to find peace or comfort or relaxation or learning, or, whatever need that book fulfilled in that moment. And maybe now, because maybe life is a little bit different, or this season, this week, this month, right? It doesn't have to be a really far apart distance of time, but maybe at this moment, reading isn't going to fulfill the need that did fulfill previously with the first book. So a lot of it is really just about giving yourself grace and saying that the solution now to fulfill a need, it may not be the same solution to fulfill the same need as it was last week or even yesterday or even this morning. And maybe in this phase or in this stage, whatever that need is can be fulfilled, maybe not through reading, but maybe through a podcast, maybe through watching TV, maybe through spending time with friends. And then maybe in another week or another month, you'll come back and be able to find that need be fulfilled again through reading another part of the book. So often we want to eliminate we want to resist urges that go against our natural inclination. So if your natural inclination is, I don't want to read this book, but I'm going to force myself to it. So there's a lot of resistance there, and you're creating a lot of tension and friction when you really should just go where the energy flows, which is maybe at this moment, I'm going to give myself grace and do something else instead. And I think people give procrastination, the concept of procrastination, a lot of power because we say, oh, I should be doing this. I need to read this book. I have to read this book. I read the first book, so therefore I must read the second book now. And choosing not to do that, having it on your mind and telling yourself you're doing something wrong by not reading the book or doing a thing, you're giving so much power to procrastination. Whereas if you said, you know what, I don't feel like reading this today or tomorrow or next week, I'm going to do this instead. All of a sudden, it doesn't feel like procrastination anymore because that resistance has been eliminated because you're just choosing to do something else that you actually want to do.
That's wonderfully said. And I feel that that does make a lot of sense as well. Doing something else for a while when, this thing is not happening, and you don't feel like doing it as well. Uh, you know, and I have read this in one of the books as well, by Jim Quick. The Limitless is the book's name. Said two
Mm.
particular things about, doing anything for pleasure, and the first one out of that is the state of the mind. What's your state of mind while doing that activity? And if you're in a good state of mind, only then you're going to remember the things which you are doing, or let's say whatever you are reading or whatever you are learning as well. It's going to be remembered in your mind only when the mind is in a good state. And the other one which I feel, where if the procrastination is happening because of the time crunch, uh there is one more wonderful tip which is given, and I feel this is something which all of us might not be doing, and that is entering it into a calendar. Like we enter all the meetings and all the important things in our calendar, and this should be added in the calendar as well, all the things which we are doing for pleasure. Let's say it could be for writing, reading, exercising, and when you put that into the calendar, and when mobile reminds you that you have to do this at this point of time, I feel that creates more intention towards it as well. So yeah, I mean, audience, you can try that, and if it works out, do mention that on Instagram or in the community where you are going to join. After the end of this episode, I'll mention the link in the description, so make sure to get over there and join the community as well. However, Elena, when you were talking about this, when you have a deadline and procrastination and work, so I have a follow-up question to that as well, where, like, on job you have a specific deadline, and then to at certain point of time you feel like that the deadline is far away. I'll do it when it's 2 days or 3 days due, to deadline. And that creates some more tension and more pressure on our mind as well. So you know how can people stop doing that, and if they are doing that, is it a healthier thing or not? What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, so similarly here with, people have different motivations and things that they need to be successful. So some people with that strategy, they always get it done. So this just, I guess, a little bit comes down to how you define procrastination. So if this person's strategy at work is to say, this project is going to take me 2 days. If it's due in 5 weeks, I'm going to wait until 4 days before to start it. If that's that person's strategy, so they always do that, they trust themselves, they always get it done. I wouldn't call that procrastination. I would just call that's their strategy. That's just how they work. That's when they're choosing to do it. Some people, though, are not like that. I think most people that say, oh, it's so far out, I'll just do it later. I think most people that have that mindset do procrastinate. And so, again, kind of asking yourself, what's maybe another area of life where you either don't procrastinate or where you do things ahead of time, or even just in general, what gets you motivated to hit deadlines. So for me, for example, having another person to be accountable to, or having another person to kind of be in the same boat as me and to help and support me. So typically for me, a deadline is enough. If you give me a deadline, that's enough accountability for me to say, I verbally agree to this. I'm loyal, I'm committed, and I will do it. But by that deadline. But there are some things where I need a person to check in with and stay accountable to. And I actually do have a colleague. We meet every week and we tell each other the things that we are going to do. And these are typically the things that don't have a deadline. So there's no reason to be accountable. So that's why we are accountable to each other. So I would say, what are some other ways that you can create motivation or create accountability if you are the person that you know yourself and you know that you have all this time now, but that, you're going to waste it? Maybe another idea is also to plan it out, right? Especially if it's a big project and that's why you have so much time. It might be good to say, okay, I have 5 weeks and this big, the end of it, the whole thing is due on this day. What's one thing I need to do this week to hit 20% of the project goal? Next week, I'll hit 40% of the project goal, right? And just kind of keep increasing and breaking it down so that it feels much more doable, that I can make some progress today. And this is my goal for the week. This is how I'm going to be accountable for the week. This is my deadline for the week, so that it doesn't accumulate and snowball into you not doing it for all that time. So those are some ideas.
Well, that's wonderfully said. Being accountable is something which helps a lot of people. It sure has helped me a lot, to be very honest. Like a few weeks back, I met Mr. Chad Hufford, and he had specifically told me that I want you to work out and start small. Just work out 3 days in a week and let me know how it goes. So like after 2 weeks, when he was going to meet me, it was always there in my mind that okay, I'm going to meet this guy and I have to make sure that I at least work out 3 days in a week, so that when I meet him, I'll have to say that to him, that what, I have been working out. So I feel being accountable helped me out as well. And till date, he asks me that I hope you're working out every week. And I'm like, this guy is not going to leave my trail, so I have to make sure that I do it. So that's a wonderful thing which you said over there, and I completely get that. However, Elena, when you say about being accountable, and it's really really important, and then going towards the end. Now let's say in today's world we have a lot and lot of OTTs. Okay, we have a lot and lot of movies on demand, uh, and all these things are just out there. Okay, and sometimes what does happen is that, let's say 3 days back, when I was writing about my ebook, I thought, I have like 7 hours today. I mean, I can do that, you know just 2 hours or maybe 3 hours, and I can go and watch a movie on Netflix or maybe on Amazon Prime. And what I actually did was I did watched a movie, and that was around 3 hours. The worst that could have happened is if I would have started with the series, then I would have completed the entire season, right? Uh, so, what do you feel that these OTT platforms or maybe even social media plays a role in procrastination, and how can we actually make sure that this doesn't get in a way of the things which we want to do for our development?
Yeah, so it's not the tool or the show or the movie. It's not about the distraction, it's about the person, right? Someone that's looking for ways to be distracted or looking for ways to procrastinate, they're going to find a way to procrastinate, right? You hear some people procrastinate with cleaning. They don't want to do something and they start cleaning, and they justify it by saying, "Oh, well, I'm still being productive. I need to clean my closet, my kitchen." Um, right. And so it doesn't really matter how you're procrastinating. I would say more often than not, we lie to ourselves. You know, I'm just going to watch 5 minutes of TikToks. I'm just going to play one round of this video game. I'm just going to watch one episode of the show, right? And you lie to yourself full well knowing that that time comes up and you're going to just keep going, keep playing, keep watching, keep whatever it is. Um, so I would just say be honest with yourself. That's really the first step. Um, and if you really want to say, okay, I'll do this for 30 minutes and then I'll do my work, or I'll, read, or whatever the thing is find a way that you can actually stick to that. Um, it's also kind of like this is a little different, but this is what's coming to mind. When you have a big bag of chips or a big bag of food, and instead of portioning some out on the side, you just keep eating out of the bag. So it's like, if you can find controls and constraints to still enjoy the thing, but to make sure you're restricting at a certain point so that you can actually accomplish what you want to, whether it's not eating too much junk food or whether it's not procrastinating your thing, find constraints that will really get you to exhibit and execute on the behaviors and actions that you want to. So I'm not saying to not enjoy it, not do it. It's just, what's going to make you actually stop when you know you need to stop. And that's what's different. Because then sometimes the other thing happens is they say, I'm going to do this work first, or I'm going to do this task first that I've been procrastinating. And then they sit there and they look at their email or they work on something else. So it's like they say they're going to sit there and do the work, but then they maybe do other work, or they sit there and just stare into the sky, or, look around and just start thinking in their own head. So that's no better or worse than if you were to just have watched TV in the first place. So even sometimes sitting down to do the thing you've been procrastinating on doesn't mean that you're actually gonna do it. So, yeah, it just comes down to how can you know yourself so you know what will actually work for you, and to just be honest with yourself about how you're planning your day and planning your time.
Well, that's well said. So I that's what I feel. I mean, it does all come out on discipline, like how to make sure that you are disciplined enough to uh, do the right things at the right time. And if you feel like not doing it, and if you feel like watching a movie, then maybe go and watch it, but make sure to plan your day in such a way that you find time for a movie and for a task which you want to do. uh is my understanding correct in that? That's what you wanted to say, right?
Yeah. So to kind of, I guess, elaborate a little more, you said the word discipline. I would agree. Some people really do not like that word. Some people have a negative association with discipline, right? Or it's something they feel like they've tried to be and can't. So the other thing that, if you're trying to help someone to not procrastinate, whether it's someone on your team, a coworker, right, a friend, whoever, or even yourself, you've got to define the good behavior in a way that is going to make the person feel good about it rather than making them have a bad reaction to it. And this is where coaching comes too. So someone could very well be coached on procrastinating. That could be a topic that a client could bring to me or another coach and say, this is what I'm having trouble with. I'm having trouble with procrastinating. Can you coach me through it? So if I were to then say to that person, well, what would it mean to you to not procrastinate? Or what would it look like for you to not procrastinate or do what you need to do? Right. And then they're going to start to describe things. And they may not use the word discipline. They might use the word, I don't know, productive. They might say, I'm being productive. Or they might use an entirely different word. And so you want to use that vocabulary that aligns with that person and how they want to feel. So then they'll be more bought in to the strategies. It'll make them feel better about it. And then also through coaching, you can identify what this unique individual needs to not procrastinate. Because it depends on the person. It depends on the person. And it does. And so coaching would be one very effective way to figure out what that singular person needs to not procrastinate.
That's fantastic. I really love the perception over there. And people, let me tell you, I do understand, Elena, what you said about about being disciplined, because discipline is one way where people would have have that perception of discipline in a way that you need to be serious. But in all, discipline is all about making sure to do the right thing at the right time and enjoy your life. So audience, you can always go back and listen to one more episode. I'll mention the link in the description, and over there it is being explained why discipline is somewhat a way to enjoy life rather than being a strict and without smiling guy. It's not like that. It's not like that. Okay, so make sure to do that. I mean, I would love if you can just go out and check that as well. However, that's a wonderful statement which you told, Elena, about hiring a coach, or going to a coach and to treat procrastination in a way that it needs to be addressed by a coach. But you see, hiring a coach, okay, it also requires nowadays a good amount of knowledge, about choosing the right coach as well. Because sometimes for some people, some coach might not be a good fit. And also sometimes, as many people are coming into the market as a coach, and sometimes it's not the right fit to go to them as well. So what are your if any tips which you can share to hire a perfect coach? What are the things which we should be looking uh before hiring the coach?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing for me is chemistry. Not everybody will find that to be important. So you may or may not. I think it's important to have chemistry between the coach and the client. I've met lots of people whose problems I can solve, but there wasn't really chemistry there. And I feel like to really connect with your client, coachee, and vice versa, that it adds a lot to the relationship and a lot to really understanding the person and the nuances behind their needs, and also just builds trust and rapport and all of that stuff. So that's the first thing that I would say. Beyond that, making sure that they can solve your problem, right? So whether it's a specific tool or technique that they use, or what it is. So I work on coaching, and then I also will write my clients' resumes and help them with the technical piece. So some people are looking for both, some people are looking for one or the other. So be clear on what you're looking for, or when you are clear on what you're looking for as the person looking for a coach, that will help you to know when you found the right person. And the last thing that I would say is their style. So again, some people may like a little bit more of a direct approach in coaching. Some people might like a little bit more of a softer or warmer approach, more friendly approach, which can go into the chemistry piece. But yeah, so the technical pieces of can they solve your problem, and then more of the softer pieces of the relationship building part.
Wow, that's wonderfully said, and I really appreciate the fact that you were able to connect with some of your clients and you were able to solve problem without really getting connected with them. I think that's what they wanted, and that's what you did. So that's pretty fantastic, and you know like I completely get when clients want something else, and as a coach you know that it might not be the right fit. So is there any incident where you were a procrastination coach and you found out that you really know what the client should do, but client wasn't doing it, and uh sometimes he or she just went on and said, you know what, I feel I should do this rather than doing that. So is there any funny experience of yours, or maybe an experience of yours which you would like to share over here?
I mean, it happens a lot where, I can see that the client is maybe not doing what I know or think they need to do. And depending on the nature of that relationship or what they hired me for, that influences how I respond and react to that. Because sometimes it can be a lot more complex than just saying, do this, not this. It's not always that simple. The other big piece of procrastination, which I haven't mentioned at all, but it's coming to me now as a really big part, is when there's a lack of alignment between you and what you need to do. So this goes far beyond really what we've talked about. I'm based on most of what I've said, I'm making the assumption that a person likes the job they're in and they just have a task that they don't want to do, or the person likes the subject of the book, they just aren't feeling motivated to read it, or you want to have a clean home for your family, or put your kids in a good school, whatever it is. I'm kind of assuming for the most part that people are in situations they want to be in. But when you are not in a situation you want to be in, or you're in a situation that you don't want to be in, that's when the procrastination gets a lot tougher. And so I guess, the example that comes to mind here is a client that I had who was in a situation that she did not want to be in. And I could tell, but she was convincing herself that she should be in that situation. And when someone believes that they should be in that situation rather than they're in a situation they want to be in, that's what I'm referring to, where it becomes a lot more of a complex topic than for me to just say, oh, do this, because they believe they should be in a place that they don't want to be in for whatever reason. So after a lot of coaching and psychological release work, which is essentially a technique that I use to help rewire the programming of the brain and through neuroplasticity, which I mentioned in the previous call or our previous episode. So after doing that and after doing some coaching with her, it took a couple months, but eventually she said, wait a minute, this isn't what I should be doing at all. And then all of a sudden, the things that she was procrastinating, she was motivated to do. So that's the deeper part of it too.
Wow. I mean, these stories are always special, I guess. Having different clients and then, making sure that, you have coached, and I feel that's something which gives more satisfaction rather than if a client just goes midway and says, you know what, I don't think it's helping anymore, and then they just go away because they felt that they should have been in the situation, but in reality they shouldn't have. So I completely understand, and I'm pretty sure you must have felt very satisfied when the client was like understood and finally was motivated to do the thing which she has to do. So kudos to your work. I mean, great job, and I'm pretty sure all the listeners would say the same thing to you, that kudos, and many people would love to connect to you. So audience, um I'll mention the links in the description. You are just a click away from her. You can follow her on LinkedIn, Instagram, and at many more places. I'll mention all the links in the description. So make sure to give her a follow, and make sure that you are listening to this episode entirely, and make sure that I'm going to launch an ebook. So make sure to have a good read. I'm going to announce first three chapters, and that would be completely free for all the listeners. And for the whole book, it's going to be really, really cheap, and that is just $1 just for you guys. So make sure to buy that, and it's about communication stories, and that is one thing which we can't procrastinate about, right? We all have to learn communication, and these are the communication stories where I'm going to give you certain tips on communication, and these are the tips which I have learned from this podcast itself, from the experts which comes on the show. So make sure to get a copy of that, the 3 chapter free copy. So that's that. And with that being said, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm sure you must have liked it, and if you think that this episode and this podcast adds value in your life, make sure to share it with your loved ones. This is Aditya Mehta along with Elena Pastore signing off from this episode. See you in the next one. Till then, peace out.